This is the Village of Riverside Board of Trustees regular meeting, Sine Die, for Thursday, May 7th, 2015. I'd ask you to call the roll.
President Bell.
Here.
Trustee Sussman.
Here.
Trustee Hamilton.
Here.
Trustee Powell.
Here.
Trustee Valerie.
Here.
Trustee Collins.
Here.
Trustee Foley.
Here.
Village Manager Francis.
Here.
Village Attorney Molina.
Here.
Village Attorney Mara.
Here.
Also present Village Clerk Haley.
Thank you. We have a quorum. If you'd please rise for the pledge.
Jean Lee. Mike, in unison. I pledge
allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and good evening to everyone here with us tonight, and for those watching at home. Just a little bit of housekeeping about how the meeting is going to proceed tonight. This is both a sad and a happy occasion. We're going to be saying goodbye to two of our trustees tonight, Trustee Sussman and Trustee Foley, but we're also welcoming our two new trustees, Trustee-elect Sedvey and Trustee-elect Lumsden. So we are going to have a short meeting. This is a Sine Die meeting, and at that point we will adjourn this meeting, and then we will reconvene our regular meeting with the new trustees seated. So first up this evening is public comment. If anyone would like to address the board, I ask that you be recognized by the president, that you make your comments from the podium so that everyone at home can hear and see what you have to say. So would anyone like to address the board? Mr. Gallegos was going to have something to say first.
Good evening, Mr. President, trustees, those in attendance, and to those watching at home. Sir, we come before the Village Board on behalf of the Lions Club. Since the 1950s, the Lions Club has honored a person who has volunteered time and energy for the benefit of the community. It has been traditionally announced at the steak fry, but this year we're making an exception and we're changing things up a bit. Having served on the Planning Commission, heading the creation of raw farmers markets, amongst other things, and serving as a devoted trustee for the past 8 years, it should come as no surprise. The Lions Club has chosen Jean Sussman as the 2015 Person of the Year. A dinner will be held in her honor at the Riverside Golf Club, tentatively in late August. And I'll be back at a later meeting to discuss more details on that, where to get tickets, etc. But congratulations again, Jean, and thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos, and thank you, the Lions Club.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go forward with our kind of our ceremonial evening tonight, I just wanted to take a moment to say a couple things myself about Trustee Sussman and Trustee Foley. It would be impossible for me to catalog the many things that these people have done for our village. But it got me to thinking about what we wish for when we elect someone to represent us. What is it we hope for in our leaders? And I think integrity comes first. We need to know that the people who represent us are honest, that they're going to tell us the truth about the issues and the challenges we face, and that they have our best interest at heart. Intellectual courage, I think, is a close second. Leaders, by their very nature, can often be strong-willed and sometimes even stubborn. I won't look either direction here. And that's as it should be. But it's also important to have the humility to recognize that opposing viewpoints can sometimes be the correct viewpoints. We always try to do what's right up here, but it takes intellectual courage to know that even though you might think you're right, you're not always right. And that kind of blends into the last thing I think we wish for, and that is idealism. Government, especially local government, exists to make the world a better place. We will disagree about what that might mean at certain times, but the willingness to have that faith and to maintain that faith in difficult situations is one of the things we hope for in our leaders. And I firmly believe that Riverside got its wish in the service of Gene Sussman and Michael Foley. Gene's service goes back with this decade, for this village, well over a decade, both in and out of government. Her talent and skill, I think, is obvious for anyone who has ever sat in these rows or watched from home. But it is her abiding kindness that I will miss the most. Her open-mindedness, her friendliness, her fairness, and even through some very difficult times. I believe she is an example that in the very best of us, courage and compassion go together. And Mike, of course, is Riverside's own favorite son. When I asked Mike to serve on the board to fill out my term when I was elected president, he could have asked a lot of questions. He could have asked how difficult it was going to be, how much time it was going to take. But what he said was yes. And through that kind of commitment, he carries on a tradition that his family established a long time ago in service to our community. And although it's sad to see them leave the board tonight, I'm quite confident that they will remain involved in our village in many different ways and make it a better place. I know that Gene especially will miss the garbage contracts and the capital plan discussion. And Mike, concrete and sidewalks, I know that you will long for the day. But you can always come. You can always come. And
come together when it's concrete talk. Hang out here.
So we're sad to see you go, but we will do our best to make sure that we find a place in the future where you can continue to use your considerable gifts on behalf of our village. So I know I speak for everyone up here when I say how much I deeply appreciate your service, your friendship, your advice, your counsel, and don't be surprised if the phone rings at 2 in the morning sometimes. So this, if you would like, I don't know if either of you wanted to take an opportunity.
Woman of the Year always goes first.
Well, of course, I'd like to thank the Lions Club for this honor. I'm very humbled and I'm very appreciative. And Ben, thank you very much for your kind words. And Jessica, you had some very kind words for me without the microphone going, and I want to thank you for those as well. It's really been a pleasure. I would really like to thank residents and staff and members of the Board of Trustees for what has been a great 8 years. It really has been. I've enjoyed the experience, and you two in the audience, well, Scott and Mike, you will too, I promise. That's a promise. And it's been a pleasure. It's been great working with smart and with engaged people, and it's really just been an overall pleasure. At times it's been a challenge, but overall it's just been a pleasure, and so I want to thank you. I'd like to say that we have a fabulous staff, just a fabulous staff. The people are everybody is well trained and smart and committed and creative and not hesitant to stick up for what they think is right, even when sometimes they have to deal with insistent, is that a polite word? Insistent trustees and even more insistent members of the audience. I'm not looking at anybody in particular, but it really takes a certain amount of skill to do it, and I think you're all just wonderful to work with. And it's been a pleasure to work with the trustees, with all the trustees as well. The trustees with whom we can disagree, argue, fight, interrupt. I'm talking about myself, actually, in this one. And then go out for a drink, for something to eat, and come back at the next meeting, continue the discussion, and vote on what we think is really best for the residents. And it's been a pleasure. It's been really an honor serving with you. And I'm also very excited about the future for Riverside. It's going to be listening to concrete conversations and watching CMAP unroll, right?
Oh, and we will.
And we will. Looking at what's happening on Burlington Street, both of these projects are really a continuation of what's been going on for years in the village. And Jack Wyaduk, a former president, is here. I can remember when the water tower was the huge issue in town, and now it's in North Riverside, and we don't think twice about it. Or with the funding for Water Tower Place, and now people congregate there, and they use it as a place to greet Santa and to have sandwiches. And so this is really a continuation of it, and I'm very happy that the bond was renewed for the roads, and yes, even that we're investing in concrete regardless of the color for the sidewalks. It's also wonderful to see the investment in our landscape heritage. The opening up of vistas, the eliminating of the invasive species, and just the amount of volunteer work that also goes in that. And if people haven't wandered behind Swan Pond or walked along Blooming Bank, it's just a remarkable difference. It's been great to see. I'm also very happy to see that we've expanded the way we think about trees and what kind of trees should be planted in our village. And that in general, we're just investing more in maintaining our green spaces in our parks. I think the village just looks great. We have excellent management of our financial resources. I don't know if Marco is here, but certainly we should be able to brag that we have one of the lowest bond ratings among our neighbors, if not the lowest among our neighbors, and we certainly have a lower bond rating than the city of Chicago or the state of Illinois. Now that might not be saying much.
You actually mean
A higher bond rating, excuse me. Well, you know, there's always work to be done, right? Seriously though, we have a better, how's that? We have a higher bond rating, thanks Jack, than either the city or the state and than any of our neighbors. And Jessica reminded me that the budget process is starting, which is an excruciating but a necessary process. Have fun, everybody. I wish you just the best fun for that. And there's been a large increase in programming and initiatives for Parks and Rec. I think it's obvious to anybody who's paid attention to Parks and Rec that staff and Ron are out there always developing new programs and actually taking risks, which is very, very nice to see. And the village is fortunate to have public safety leaders and officers who lead by example. Whether it's for advocating for those who cannot advocate for themselves, for all the work that our chief has done on Head Start, for instance, whether it's involvement in regional and national security initiatives, and of course for keeping us safe and informed. And I can't resist him for the coyote policy. So thank you, Chief. Having said that, Ben, of course I have a huge binder for you and Jessica that I'll leave with you when I next see you. That's all I have to say, and again, thank you all very much.
You know, I can't top what Gene said. I think the more I think about leaving here, I think the more sad I get. Being a trustee to me was something that I always wanted to do. It was something that, like Ben said, let's just do it, you know. I look out at this room and there's a lot of smart people. There's a lot of people that have served this village. I look at every single one of you and I can think of who you are and what you mean to the village. That's what Riverside is about. That's why it was a thrill to serve. It was a pleasure to serve, an honor to serve. I'm sorry, I'm kind of choked up. It's the Irishman in me. I'm going to miss everyone on this board, everyone in this room. We have, without a doubt, probably one of the best villages that I can think of. We are safe because of guys like Matt Buckley, because of police officers that are guided by Tom. We are financially stable because we have people like Jessica steering the boat. We have Ed taking care of our streets when it's bad out, making our parks nice and clean. We have the best people, and they care about it. What we do up here, I think, is more reflected in what they do out there. We give them the tools, we give them the zero-turn mowers and the road salt and the authority to go and plant trees, but it's those people who do it who make a difference to this town. There's a lot of smart people in this town, and I think more of them need to come forward and serve. We can't rely on people like Gene to serve for 8 years. There's a lot of smart people in this town, and I think people need to come forward and show what Riverside means to you and serve. It's easy. With a staff like this, With board members like this, it's easy. I think the only hard part would be the Thursday nights that I'm not with my family at dinner, but they're probably glad for a break after a while. You know, to this board, it was an honor to serve with what I think are three of the smartest women I know. It was an honor to serve with you. I think that's great. Love Joe. He's got his own TV channel. How cool is that? Doug. I love working with Doug. You've opened my eyes to what you do and how it applies to our village and how it can make our village better. Ben, thank you for putting your trust in me. Thank you for tapping me and asking me to fill a seat. It was easy, and I like it. And you? It was fun, and I learned a lot, and I really enjoyed you sneezing on me all the time.
Poking you to stop.
And I like your haircut. So
I'm going to miss you so much.
we have Kathy, we got Mike, we got Lance, we got great attorneys, great cameramen in the back. It's this town. It's just keep it going.
See, now you get me all chucked. Thank you both. Would anyone else like to address the board before we move forward? No. Hearing none, we'll move on to the reports of the village officers. I do not have a village president report tonight. Ms. Francis?
I do not have anything to report this evening.
Next up is the approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items which any trustee needs to have removed for further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion and a second to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Foley,
Second.
second by Ms. Sussman. Please call the roll.
Trustee Sussman.
Aye.
Trustee Hamilton.
Aye.
Trustee Powell.
Aye.
Trustee Valerie.
Aye.
Trustee Collins.
Aye.
Trustee Foley.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up is a resolution and proclamation declaring results of the election of certain municipal officers in the consolidated election held on April 7, 2015. Whereas the consolidated election was held on April 7, 2015, and whereas two new village trustee candidates were elected, Scott Lumsden and Michael Sedevy, and village trustee Joseph Ballerine was reelected, and whereas the Cook County Clerk's Office has completed the canvass of all votes cast and the official certificate of results for Riverside Village trustee are attached hereto. Now therefore be it resolved and proclaimed by the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Riverside, Cook County, Illinois, that Scott Lumsden and Michael Sedevy be sworn in as village trustees for a term of 4 years. I'd ask for a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Sussman,
Second.
second by Mr. Foley. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Trustee Sussman.
Aye.
Trustee Hamilton.
Aye.
Trustee Powell.
Aye.
Trustee Valerie.
Aye.
Trustee Collins.
Aye.
Trustee Foley.
Aye.
Motion carries. And with that technicality done, I would now like to move on to the swearing in of our newly elected officials and one formerly elected official. And I would ask the village clerk first to please swear in village trustee Joseph Ballerine. Yes.
Repeat after me. I, Joseph Ballerine, do solemnly swear
I, Joseph Ballerine, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and I will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of Village Trustee
of the office of Village Trustee
for the Village of Riverside, Illinois,
for the Village of Riverside, Illinois,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Scott Lumsden. Please I, Scott Lumsden, do solemnly swear
I, Scott Lumsden, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and I will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of Village Trustee
of the office of Village Trustee
for the Village of Riverside, Illinois,
for the office for the city of Village for the Village of Riverside, Illinois,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Michael Sedovy. I, Michael Sedovy.
I, Michael Sutterby,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of Village Trustee
of the office of Village Trustee
for the Village of Riverside, Illinois,
for the Village of Riverside, Illinois,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. There is no new business this evening. So with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn Sine Die.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Sussman. And a second by Trustee Foley. Please call the roll.
Trustee Sussman.
Aye.
Trustee Hamilton.
Aye.
Trustee Powell.
Aye.
Trustee Valerie.
Aye.
Trustee Collins. Trustee Vogel.
We are adjourned Sine Die.